I will speak loud for those who cannot speak. I'm a proud he, she, they, them, whatever. I am a boyfriend to a beautiful woman. I am a girlfriend to a handsome trans man. And I am also a girlfriend to an incredibly beautiful woman. One of the first things we learn in a healthy family is trust, and unfortunately some parents don't trust their children when they say, "This is me." And they make that decision for them. That may make the child fearful from the people that claim to be trying to protect them.
I'm glad you have a cup of coffee because that is some weird ass stuff. That is truly some weird ass stuff. Did you catch that? Did you catch all the different things this thing was?
I will speak loud for those who cannot speak. I'm a proud he, she, they, them, whatever. I am a boyfriend to a beautiful woman. I am a girlfriend to a handsome trans man. And I am also a girlfriend to an incredibly beautiful woman. One of the first things we learn in a healthy family is trust, and unfortunately some parents don't trust their children when they say, "This is me." And they make that decision for them. That may make the child fearful from the people that claim to be trying to protect them.
Sometimes it's really hard to decode some of that crap, isn't it? Anyway, it's been a while since we've just gotten together and had some coffee. I hope you have some good coffee. This is a chance for you to ask me anything. I know there were things that happened recently that kind of may have shocked every one of you, that shocked me. So start firing up your questions and put them for me. I'm going to try to monitor all the various channels where I am and look at your questions and just make sure that I try to get everybody in. But when we do this, it is just a way to all kind of connect, figure out what's going on, and give you a chance to just ask me questions that you might not otherwise get an opportunity to do. So everything's on the table. I'm going to show you a few interesting things as well. By the way, today's program is brought to you by the fine folks at Goldco. First, if you like silver, folks, if you just want to kind of put your toe in the water, if you got a retirement account, you can go to instantsilver.com/Jovan. You can put in the amount of your retirement value and see how much free silver you can get. Now, the reason I show you that is because the fine folks at Goldco, depending upon, your retirement and what you want to do, you might actually qualify to get up to $10,000 in free silver. Gold roaring through the roof. And we're very likely going to be in for some pretty significant ups and downs and arounds and everything else. And I just want you to be protected. I'm telling you, nothing is as it seems. And every day I try to make sense of it. And I can't make sense of some of the things going on. I can't even make sense of sometimes people I trust or people I know or I think I know. And that's kind of what makes this unsettling times. It really does. It kind of makes it unsettling times. And during these unsettling times, the one thing I don't want you to worry about is your money. Would you just consider, please, going to jovanlovesgold.com? Would you? Would you? Just put in your information with our fine partners at Goldco and just understand why you need some gold and silver. You've got to protect yourself. Nobody can do it for you. The government's not going to do it for you. And if you think we have perfect times right now, I just want to let you know, we do not have perfect times right now. We don't, by any stretch of the imagination. My gut tells me we're going to have to buckle up. And if you haven't clicked that jovanlovesgold.com yet and gone there, click below and just talk to Goldco. Can I just tell you, you better get cracking. I've always told you ahead of time, you better get cracking. Period. I don't know how else to say it. Anyway, grab you some coffee. I love coffee. You want to know something that's really stupid? There are times I go to bed. Tell me if you do this. There are times I go to bed, and what I kind of get excited about when I go to bed, is I got to get up soon and have coffee. Is that like sad? Is that sad? That's how much I love coffee. Right? Anyway, you'll see my face is really, really tan. This is the time of the year getting gardens and everything else going. Speaking of that, let me show you something really cool. Today's program's, really informal, but let me show you something. Guys, I'm a big gardener. Somebody just asked me a question. They were talking about my books, and he was saying he's trying to get his wife to maybe consider a few alternative things, and she just got a brand new greenhouse. And I said, well, that a greenhouse and Food Forest Bible and everything, it all goes hand in hand. And so I told him on one of my family properties, we've got 6 different ways of growing, all going at the same time. And what I mean by that, in-ground greenhouse where you can grow tropical fruits and citrus and everything in cold mountainous environment. In-ground garden, row cropping. Above ground, meaning on the ground, elevated beds. Raised beds, that's a little bit thing where there's air underneath it. That's a completely different thing. Hanging beds. And then growing on straw bale. I'm constantly testing and tinkering, constantly testing and tinkering, right? And I want to show you something that it's one of the ones that I plan to conquer this year. When I say conquer, just be successful at it. By the way, God bless you guys, Super Buff Chef. God bless you. God bless you. God bless you. God bless you. God bless you for supporting our program and such generous tips. And of course, now there's a tipping battle going on. Guys, you are the greatest. And now it's accelerated again. God bless you guys. You know what? Just God bless you. It all goes to, and we've been thinking about this because it's going to be a long haul carrying this stuff to a prosecution standpoint. We'll talk about it in a minute. And let me not get distracted by that. Thank you guys very much. Let me show you something very cool that I'm going to grow, and I think you should consider this. This is one of the coolest plants heirloom plant that I've ever come across. Check this out.
These fancy fruits are strawberry spinach. Native to the US and Canada.
Strawberry spinach. Yeah, strawberry spinach.
These fancy fruits are strawberry spinach. Native to the US and Canada, these plants have been cultivated in Europe since the 1600s. Like their name suggests, these plants can also be used for their green foliage, which tastes like spinach.
These are all natural. These are heirloom. These are not modified. This is a as God made it plant.
These fancy fruits are strawberry spinach. Native to the US and Canada, these plants have been cultivated in Europe since the 1600s. Like their name suggests, these plants can also be used for their green foliage, which tastes like spinach, and when young, the little fruits are a little bit grassy. But when they're big, ripe and juicy, these guys taste a little bit like a sweet strawberry watermelon. So when these guys are perfectly ripe, because they'll take on this black, squishy-like appearance and sweet, sugary flavour. Perfect for juices, lemonades, jellies and desserts, or even as a lovely natural food colouring. Try these strawberry spinach fancies in your garden today. Delicious.
Was off. For some reason, my sound was off in that, but at least you could see it. Was that sound off for you guys? Right? Was that sound? It was kind of out of lip sync. Isn't that interesting? Right? Isn't that interesting? So I'm going to try that. I'm gonna try that awesome plant. There's so many awesome plants out there that do such incredible things, right? By the way, getting out and doing all the gardening and working with hands, and got a whole, we're logging and rocking and moving rocks and all kinds of stuff. I'm still helping the family clean up after the hurricane. Wow. It's just been, it's totally been devastating. But everything wouldn't operate if we didn't have all hands on decks, right? Anyway, speaking of all hands on decks, have you thought about lean? You know the fine folks at Brick House Nutrition, right? By the way, if any of y'all grown strawberry spinach, let me know in the chat. Here's what I've got for you, part of your healthy kickoff, not only just, vegetables and your field of greens and stuff, but they also make a product called Lean. I've got 20% off your first order for you. Just go to takelean.com for your promo code, which is Jovan20. This is wrapping up, but this is for if you're a yo-yo dieter. Lose weight, gaining back, lose weight, gaining back, lose weight, gaining back. That's dangerous for your heart, stroke. Just don't do that. Break free of that pattern. It's not an injection or anything like that. It's just a supplement. The science behind it is incredible. It works 3 different ways. Helps maintain healthy blood sugar, helps control appetites and craving, helps burn fat, right? It converts fat into energy. That's what I'm doing out there with this stuff. Listen, if you're tired of that yo-yoing and going back and getting more and you want meaningful weight loss, just do this. Lean was created for you. Let me get you started with 20% off. Enter promo code Jovan20 at takelean.com. That's promo code Jovan20 because I want you to lose that 20 extra pounds you want to get rid of, right? Here, I've got a code for you on the screen. If you want to just zap the code, hold your phone up or just snap a picture right now. Snap a picture, you can hold it, and you'll go right there, right? Anyway, we're just going to have a kind of a conversation today. I'm going to do my best to look across all of your channels that everybody's tuning in and just ask me your questions, because in some ways it feels like some things are out of control, which I'll discuss. And then I'll show you something really cool. I'm getting the itch. I've got to get, even though I've been working for months on family stuff in the mountains versus a different part of the mountains or in Texas, North Texas, there's a part of me that just wants to get out, right? And just be out in the wilderness for a long while. Have you ever done that? Pack up the gear. I want to pack up the percherons, load them up, and just get into the mountain. Anyway, we're going to have some coffee and talk. This is called Ask Me Anything. You fire away and ask me the questions about the things you're concerned about or just want to talk about. Let's get started right after this.
Warning. The following program has been rated Dilligaff and is intended for open-minded audiences. If the truth offends you, or if you are allergic to focused intensity, intellectual athleticism, or the occasional F-bomb or even irreverent humor, please switch off now. If your delicate sensibilities need to be worried about or addressed, might we recommend the Underwater Basket Weaving channel to you? Otherwise, sit back, enjoy the wisdom, insight, and wicked sense of humor.
Cut the crap. How many times a day do you want to say that to politicians? The elite, the loony liberals, the fake news media, and the gender-confused, emotional socialist snowflake crowd. Cut the crap is your secret weapon for fighting for our freedoms and our great republic. It all begins with a massive mental enema, freeing you from the toxic news and politically correct views, which constipate your consciousness with stinking thinking. Your host, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer. He's known for calling out politicians and telling them to cut the crap. You've seen him on virtually every television network and listened to him on Coast to Coast Radio. And now he's here to help you learn to fight for America. Culture, race, and American politics. They all have one thing in common. They all need to cut the crap. Now, here's your host, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer.
Hey, folks, welcome to the crap. Now, this is a little bit different than I normally do. It's not my normal program. I'm opening it up to you. And this is where grab a cup of coffee and let's just talk about whatever you want to talk about. Right now, I think a lot of people are feeling uneasy. You may have seen the announcement. Rebecca put this. Jovan, I think our midterm ship are possibly in danger. Example that Stefanik being now out as the ambassador to the UN. Who told you immediately following Election Day and seeing the counting continue to go on for 60 days that we're going to have a problem in the midterms? Yeah, this guy right here. It's the number one thing that scares the hell out of me because this little FU finger of poopy head sticking up there. And I watch Rakeem Jeffries and those guys brag about they're going to control the House. They're telling the truth when they tell you that. They are telling the truth when they tell you that. So yes, was the move correct to pull Stefanik back, not have her wasted at the UN, even though she'd be dealing on the global scale with the Putin stuff in the world? No, I think it was the right move because the House is in trouble. They can't afford any losses, right? Which only 5 spread or 4 spread at the moment. So, no. But the House is in trouble. And this was the right move. It was absolutely the right moves. Now, I want you to understand, you asked the question that with Trump's EO, one question said, what do I think about it? One Trump's, hey, somebody asked, do you think the EO will clean the voter rolls in working time? The EO was not to clean the voter rolls. I don't know how you read that executive order was to clean the voter rolls. That is not what it is. The executive order was that the states and Homeland Security, etc., have to cooperate. That was the order. There was not an order to clean the voter rolls. Not at all. It just opened the pathway that, and that's why Secretary of States are bitching about it, because it compels the Secretary of States and the governors, etc., to cooperate. Does it compel the immediate cleaning of the voter rolls? No. Are people going to start getting information that they need regarding the illegals right now? No. If some state did want to clean their voter rolls, and I believe they don't, you've got a few things. The Democrats have launched 126 different lawsuits regarding it, and nobody can make a move until those lawsuits are settled or whatever the case may be. Government's trying to push through the SAVE Act or SAFE Act, whatever it is. It's all bullshit. And we went over that long ago. It doesn't solve anything. So it's opened the door that you have to cooperate. If you don't cooperate, you'll get in trouble, or at least open the door that you can be legitimately sued. But the system's not worried about lawfare. They prefer lawfare. They prefer lawfare. And so, no, there's not going to be any cleaning of the rolls. It just opened the door to things that have to be talked about. And if you allow people to tell you, well, that means they're cleaning the voter rolls, then you're allowing deception and you're allowing it to sit there. And there's a lot of people out there from it's the machines. Look how wonderful and successful this is. No. There's a difference between an executive order and executing an executive order. And I haven't even finished the series. There's probably 3 more programs left as I review that. But it's not fixed. It's not fixed. Somebody asked me, am I abandoning you guys? I don't know why you'd ask that, but no, I'm not going anywhere. I am not going anywhere at all. I'm upset at the moment. You can probably read it in my face. The last 24 hours has been a holy shit, what the fuck? Here's the what the fuck. I don't know how to equate this to you guys, but this is Donald Trump. I'm pleased to announce that Mark Brnovich will be our next United States ambassador to Serbia. Mark is a proud veteran of the Army National Guard and previously served as Attorney General for the great state of Arizona. A son of refugees who fled communism, Mark will be a strong advocate for freedom and will always put America first. Congratulations, Mark. Bullshit. That's the fellow that did nothing about what was shown him in Arizona. It was all controlled from the inside. Even in Arizona, people that were left and dropped in the audit, when they did interviews for Brnovich's folks, you know the first thing they presented? You want to know the first thing? I got it in one of the days. I'll release the videos. The very first thing when audit representatives, primarily first one, Heather Honey, first thing told the AG, don't look at Jovan's work. You don't need to look at Jovan's work. It's not good. That was their priority. Of course, Brnovich didn't do anything. And all of that was BS setup. And if you remember, I'll find it. Maybe y'all can find it. Go back quite possibly on my Facebook, on my Twitter, or maybe on my Substack. I'm trying to reconcile the midterms. Folks, when y'all were beating the hell out of Brnovich, because he wanted, and I told you, here's the play with Brnovich. He's been in government so long, I told you, he needs 2 more years to serve as something so he gets his federal pension. I told y'all how to push back on him when he was running for the Senate in 2022 in Arizona because he did nothing about the audit. He did appear on 60 Minutes just before Trump election where he got in. He appeared on 60 Minutes saying, no, there was nothing wrong in 2020. There was just a bunch of conspiracies. Anyway, just about the time of the midterms when he was running, you guys remember it, I posted a post from President Trump because Brnovich kept on using a photo of him and President Trump on President Trump's jet doing the thumbs up. And Brnovich was promoting the shit out of it. Well, it pissed President Trump off. And President Trump actually told him, stop using that photo saying you have my endorsement. You don't. If y'all could find that, that would be really good. If y'all could find that for me, that would be exceptionally good. Because President Trump told that rat bastard, you stop using that photo to promote you. You did nothing in Arizona. And how do I reconcile this with today? Now, many people are talking that this was not President Trump's doing. Many people are talking that this is people under President Trump doing machinations. And President Trump's got other things to do. And Jerry, I'm really live. I'm not a replay. This is my AI bringing to you. See, I don't do replays or reruns. I do newers. It's just rerun backwards. Anyway, I am told from the inside that it was people around Trump that pushed this and did this and just made it happen, and President Trump's dealing with other things. I have to believe that because I can't reconcile President Trump doing it. But you know what this stands for? This stands for how dirty, how nasty, how bullshitiac, and you thought it was Bolshevik. No, it's bullshitiac politics is. And all they do is care about their stuff. But I told you long ago, Brnovich needs 2 more years at some sort of official post in the government that so he can qualify for his very, very fancy government level pension. But this is politics. Politics is as usual. But please remember, before the 2024 election, Brnovich was on 60 Minutes telling you nothing was wrong in 2020. It was just a conspiracy. And the so-called auditor who couldn't testify in Carrie Lake's trial because she was really an office manager, they held up as America's top election auditor expert, and she's on 60 Minutes. I told you something was up, and I told you it was in play. Here it is. This is the system. This is the system. And I got to tell you, this makes me sick to my stomach. I tossed and turned about it. It's done. I'm going to play a fantasy in my head that they made a deal with Brnovich to really talk about the real ghost in the system. This is not a replay. Come on, guys. I'm live. You hear that? If I was a rerun, you wouldn't hear that sound. See, it's me. It's physical. If it was a rerun and I did that, you wouldn't hear it because it would be a rerun. It'd be digital and you couldn't hear the physical hit. Anyway. It's horseshit. It's horseshit. I don't know what else to say. I hear many of you are talking about somebody that's probably in chat, and I'll pull it up for you real quick. Probably in chat that called Alex Jones and got on the air live, and Alex held him over, and whoever it was called out Mike Lindell, and called out Mike Lindell, Dr. Frank, PCAPS, Tina Peters, blah blah blah, and mentioned my name, which I found really interesting, right? Which I found really interesting. Alex said he didn't really know. Well, shit, guys. Super Buff, you are super. God bless you for blessing our program. We're trying our best to keep it going. We got all this evidence in chain of custody. It's freaking killing us. We're about to, here in 1 month, wait, a little over a month, we're coming into where it's been 4 years we've had to keep these systems going. Have them prepped, have them ready in chain of custody, and it clicks away at about 10 grand a month. That's $120,000 a year minimum that we've been doing. It's another $500,000 cost to us in all this time, and boy, it's getting really tough to maintain that outside all the thing we do. We're well over the I was looking at the numbers the other day, maybe $2.75 million into doing this stuff. And here's this fucking guy going to be an ambassador and he wouldn't even look at anything. It just kicks you in the head. And we know that it's going to come into where we're going to have to absolutely make sure we can maintain this rate, at least what possibly might look the end of 27. We got 2.5 more years that we've got to make this happen. And I'm not sure we can do it. And that too weighs heavy on my heart. But it's also part of what it's what the system does. The system banks about, right? Sometimes chat makes no sense. Anyway, so as we work through this, right? As we work through this, and God bless you guys, right? God bless you guys, but I have to think that maybe there's a little hook there that Brnovich is going to turn evidence on what really happened. But somebody called in to Alex Jones's program. One of you, I don't know necessarily who it was, and Alex Jones, in talking about PCAPs, right? Talking about PCAPs, basically said, "Well, I'm not really up on that. I don't really know, and I'm not sure." So he let the caller hold over. Baby, quarter horse? No, they don't barbecue horses. It's BB quarter horse. Thank you so very much. And yes, I'd like to send them into orbit, but thank you. Anyway, so one of you got on the phone with Alex. Alex put it on hold, says, I don't really know a lot about this. And had it hold over till Mike Lindell came on. And when Mike Lindell came on, the caller said, I kind of want to know what's up and what happened to Tina, and some of your guys just might not be qualified, and everyone. And Mike was rather nice, and he said, I know about Jovan, and he's done his work and whatever. Hang on. Kitty, God bless you. And I know you're in pain. And I know you just had a surgery. And I know they got your legs straight up in the air. And I know that's got to be a little bit painful. And I know you're going through that. But I just want to say, God bless you, right? God bless you for your support of our program. And I sure hope that you get well soon from all that. So thank you for your contribution there. Everything helps. Anyway, so here's what Lindell said. When asked about, well, what's going on with Tina Peters, and it kind of looks like your guys, or what really got them in jail or whatever, I don't have the clip. Lindell said, he kind of changed the subject and got real flustered real quick, but Lindell said, well, I early on, I funded Jovan or whatever, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Well, you might want to go to my Twitter. I'm really surprised Mike said it that way, but on Twitter, I recounted for you, and I'll put it in the chat. On December 3rd, 2020, seems like forever ago, on December 3rd of 2020, okay, I got placed into a Signal group. And isn't it interesting? We're finding out that person that heads up NPR is the chairman of the board of Signal, and she used to be a top exec at Wikipedia. Don't you find that fishy? Anyway, the clip's on banned video. I'll find it. Anyway, so Mike had mentioned that early on he had funded me, and he funded guys a lot of money or whatever the case may be. I posted for you that story, which I kind of held back from because I kind of felt it made Mike Lindell look odd. But when he actually said, well, he funded me, here's the story. You see that fellow in the picture there? That is a fellow that many news outlets stuff have confirmed is a British intelligence asset. Yeah. And his name's Andrew Whitney. And I was surprised that kind of even came up and why Mike would say that. And I could tell Mike was flustered when somebody asked him, because somebody wants to go, hey, Mike, where's the PCAPs? Well, I'll just tell you the story real quick so you can have it. But I put it out there in chat. You can read it for yourself. You can comment on it. Okay. On December 3rd of 2020, right around that time, I got dropped into a Signal group. Okay. And I've only told bits and pieces of this. I'm going to tell you the whole thing, but I got dropped into a Signal group. And in this Signal group, it was a lot of quote unquote intelligence people, military intelligence people, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I had just gone viral. That's the little video you see on the right there, which you can watch, saying I can look at the ballots and I'll look for the fold. That's the video you can watch. Right? Maybe I can show you that because it's part of this answer. Let me see if I've got that right here. Hang on. And I'll just play that video for you. And so the news went wild at this. And this is what a lot of people said. Hey, you've got to get Jovan, right, to do it. Now, I've told you people are going to be rebranding themselves. You've seen it happen all over. Part of this rebranding is that Mike was never about the PCAPs. That wasn't the point. The point was he kept people talking about election integrity. Well, it was the PCAPs. So somebody called in and challenged Mike. So let me tell you the story. This video had just gone viral. Okay, let me see if there's sound. Is there sound there? No. And what that video is I showed that we could take a ballot and I could determine if it was actually a mail-in ballot, okay? And this was when I identified, look, I know because of all my medical research, I can innovate a way to look at these ballots. I'll use all these different frequencies. That's what you're seeing over on the right in the frequencies. See, there's the fold. See it cut right through that printing? Right? That's how I showed back then, guys, I can sort this out. Let me show you all the frequencies that we can reconfirm that. See, there's the fold right there up here in the window. See it go left to right. And I explained that light frequencies, when the paper changes, it actually changes its physical nature, kinematics, which changes its reflective nature. And because on the physics side, motion, the paper got bent, okay? The paper got bent. Well, with the paper being bent, I can now see an artifact. See how it's smooth and then boom, there it is. If you were looking at the ballot, you technically wouldn't see it, but I can see where it's been handled. I can really see what kind of systems it got printed on. I can see the integrity of the paper. Anyway, I got that, and it just went viral. That's when a lot of you first started hearing about my scientific work. Well, anyway, Mike got asked on Alex Jones about it. Alex didn't say he knew anything about it. And Mike just kind of poo-pooed it and said, well, you know, I funded Jovan and funded people a lot of money or whatever. No, he didn't. And I've given you this on my Telegram. This guy on the left, when I got dropped into a Signal group, this guy on the left came in, and he has a history with Bain Capital. Okay? Bain Capital. And that is a investment firm that really has good credibility, right? And so he got somehow, and I don't know who popped them in. I have no idea who popped this guy in the group. He just showed up one day. And by the way, God bless you, LF. God bless you. God bless you. God bless you. God bless you, Peaches. God bless you. God bless you. And God bless you, Manna. All of you guys. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for all of you guys supporting our program. It makes such a significant difference. And we're coming to the critical time and evidence. But anyway, so you can imagine in this group, one part of this group were intel. One part of this group was active military members. There were some tech people in it, etc. I got dropped in it. And all of a sudden, this guy comes in and he's going, y'all need some help. Let me help. What do you need? And so the tech guys were saying, well, we need help with servers so we can run data, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But he specifically kind of zeroed in on me. It says, well, what do you need to make this happen? I said, look, the reason I produced the videos is because this can be done. So if you get these tech guys to do it, I'll tell them how to do it. I'll tell them what frequencies it is, etc. If they'll just follow my lead and develop, right, then I will help. And what I want out of it is if I'm going to do that and help them understand the technology to do it, then my only thing is I'm not going to do anything in technology without doing patents. So if you want to put up some money to help pay the cost of the patents, I'm in. You can do whatever you want with them. And so that was my initial deal. And by the way, Tom, thank you so very much. Thank you. I appreciate it, guys. Anyway, so this guy was a big capital guy, and he says, I'll help you with whatever you need, because filing patents is a very expensive part of the process. I said, but that's it. I'm a patent guy and technology guy, but I'm only interested in patents. I'm not offering to do technology, but I will tell tech guys how to do it. So he funded a little bit to me for patent stuff and funded these tech guys in this signal group for servers and whatever the case may be. But then he came back to me and he says, well, look, if I'm going to help you with patents, then I want to own part of it. And I said, oh, I guess that kind of makes sense, but you can only own part of a NewCo, not the patents, a NewCo. And so we made a deal that, okay, if a NewCo was formed, right, then we could all create a NewCo if this went somewhere based on the technology I'm doing, and gave him a little piece of the NewCo. But I'd never met the guy, right? Only heard him on maybe group signal calls, but all of it was by email and stuff. And so I'm going along doing my patents and stuff, and I'm communicating the whole time with active military people. Here's what you do. Here's what you need. Here's what the tech is. Here is how you do the tech. Now, by that time, I had also already learned that some of the people in the group were, in fact, either formerly and or active CIA. Now, I had no problem with that, just being honest with you. Just because somebody was CIA, I don't see it as instantly bad. And I didn't have anything in my head that the government did this shit, right? I just know we're going to get an answer for the ballots, and they're not all mail-in ballots. Well, as this starts going along and I start asking questions and I start digging into this guy's background, I come back to the group and I said, every bit of information I'm getting about this guy is he is fucking British intelligence. And I said, are you fucking kidding me? Here's somebody in a Signal chat saying they want to help America, throwing money out there, getting people started. But what he wants a hook in the technology. He wants to see the code. He wants to see the programming. And then I said, but he's military British intelligence, and his brother's a pretty sophisticated high ranker MI6 guy. I go, this doesn't sound right. And remember, at that time, this is December 3rd, 2020. We're all scrambling just to figure out what we could do. How can we help this country? What can we look at the data? What do we have? Nobody had any data. Everybody just knew it was wrong. I knew that these aren't mail-in ballots. They said that most of these votes, 90% of the votes were mail-in ballots. And I'm telling you, I know how to at least see if they were mailed. So kind of after I exposed that, it's bad enough. I'm thinking, wait a minute, CIA, military guys, intel guys. How did I get dropped into this? And now it all seems to focus on me. It was an existing group. But what you find out over, a couple of weeks, it was all focused on me. Okay, Jovan, what will your technology be? How will your technology do? We're going to do it. We're going to do the servers. It's just there was a stick in the mud. Right? This guy quite possibly is British intelligence. And I'm not okay with that. And so I kind of put it out there. No way. I'm not okay with this. And in very short order, this guy disappears. Stops communicating. This is a month in, guys. I already knew I could find it. This was the very first thing that went viral was this shit. And so I'm naive. I'm pumping these guys. Here's how you do it. Here's the frequencies. Here's the code you need to write. You need this type of code writer. You need this type of code writer. And it just wasn't happening. So all of a sudden, this whole group kind of disintegrates. I get back to the military guys, because they had recommended all the tech people. And I said, what's your status on the servers? What's the status on the program? And they basically said, well, we haven't done anything on the program. We don't know how to do it. And we used the money for the servers, and that money's gone. I'm going, what? Because I'm thinking they're working through it. Well, they were never working through it. They were never developing anything. They were never following my specs at all. And then they claim, well, we don't know how to do it. We know what you're saying. We just don't know how to accomplish it. So needless to say, that thing blew up. This is the guy that threw money into that group. After that, as this is actively going on, right? And now I know these guys can't deliver. I'm at a crossroads, and the crossroad is I have to talk to some of my own development people in my own medical company. And the problem is, and I'll just put this succinctly to you, my CTO, who I've done $50 million worth of development with, right? And I just dealt with it because he's good, but he fucking sits in an office with a framed portrait of Obama behind him. And then my head, light, frequency, non-traditional linear curves, all this other stuff. It's called curved forms, right? Okay. I have to talk to them. And I know it's hard. You got to understand, I'm an isolated conservative in a big tech field. So this was the very, very, very first time in a meaningful way I come out, because we're funded by all these different funds, Dream It Ventures, all these big ventures. And I come out and say, I'm going to do this work for the election. And all these guys are liberals, and all the bankers are liberals. And it was devastating because nobody's going to lift a finger. So, luckily, a few of my people were crypto conservatives, meaning you can't reveal you're a conservative. And we've worked together for years and years. And so I pivoted to one of my other teams because I knew if I was going to get this done, then I'd just have to fucking do it. Right? But it was this guy that funded it. Now, as this is going on this way, I get a phone call. And the phone call is, I want you to be in my documentary. And it was Mike Lindell calling me. And so I said, okay. And they fly in his jet, pick me up at Addison Airport. And I hopped the ride and go there. And it was the very first time I met Mike or anything. And that's the story I told you about. They're shooting the first documentary. But damned if sitting on the phone during that documentary is another supposed CIA person. And I'm watching what everybody was talking about. I now know this guy's a British asset. And by that turned my CIA radar on that, wow, these are all military people and CIA people and other people, although they had some other good people in it. What the fuck's going on? So that's how I met Mike Lindell. I didn't do a deal with Mike Lindell. This guy recruited me as a big banker. Now, I found out after the fact that it's Mike Lindell and this guy who have several other corporations, and they were trying to convince President Trump to approve a medicine for COVID. So I'm kind of thinking, well, Mike's been out there talking about elections. What was he doing behind the scenes trying to get a medication approved for COVID? Well, evidently this guy and Mike somehow owned some, or said they owned some medicine that would cure COVID. I'd never heard that. Come to find out, the medicine didn't necessarily pan out. And some people say it was just ivermectin under a different name, and they were trying to get all this funding. I went as far in trying to vet this guy that I drove to that lab and the research center, only to find he wasn't there. Anyway, so I'm here. I'm gonna do this documentary, and son of a bitch, here's another person that is a CIA-oriented person on the phone directing what Mike's doing. Keyword, directing what Mike's doing. Key term, directing what Mike Lindell is doing, saying, and what's going on. So I do my normal bit. This is how the paper looks. Remember, I did the little color sponges and the little blocks and stuff. And as I watched that over a day or 2 days, I then told Mike, I can't do this. I can't do this. I cannot be in this documentary. Here's why. You are putting on all this foreign stuff, PCAPs, all this foreign interference stuff, China, PCAPs, and all this stuff. And I said, number one, I do not agree with it. And I said, number two, and here's where you need to pay attention. Number two, if you use me in this, since it looks like I'm going to get the Arizona audit, right? That I'm going to be approved as one of the ones to do it. I don't want anything to do with this because it could block me from being a provider to the audit. Well, now when I look back at this, I'm going, that's really interesting. It's also where I met Matt DePerno. Great guy. Really hit it off with Matt. And Matt DePerno had also been infiltrated. Matt DePerno says, don't include me in this. But he didn't put it in writing, even though he's an attorney, and they still did it. For me, I was very adamant. I put it in writing, put everybody knows, do not use me. So that's why I'm not in it. And now Matt, from the inside, they're trying to take down in Michigan criminal charges for supposedly breaking into the machines, which he didn't do. Matt didn't break into any machines. Matt had a court order to look at it, and he did. Same attorneys, same group, somehow get attracted to Matt and his work in Atrium County, a lot of the bad characters, and somehow the attorneys supposedly released the data to other techies to look at it. Right? To other techies to look at it. It's the same attorneys involved in Tina. It's the same people involved in Tina. And the person that went on the road bragging that my red team looked at it and this is nefarious and horrible stuff and it's the machines and the machines. That was Joe Altman. And it was Joe Altman that got Matt DePerno to D.C. on January 6th. Now, this just strikes it really weird for me. Talking with Matt, how in the fuck did Altman get that data from the machines? And Matt's going, I have no idea. It was in the possession of the attorneys. We got it legally. It was in the possession of the attorneys. Now, that should sound familiar because that's what Tina Peters went to prison for. And then if you look back in time, and this is January 22nd, 2021, right? We're talking a month plus later. Sydney, this is from Joel Altman to Sydney. Might be a good idea to connect. We have some interesting information on Eric Coomer. You also need to be aware of what we were doing in Colorado. Look at this. What we are doing in Colorado to gain access to the Dominion systems under the radar. We have several county clerks cooperating. Need to settle down the chaos so you can get a grasp on all the information. The audit in Atrium County is something that will help your lawsuit. That's Matt's information against Dominion as well. They are puffing their chest, but the reality is we already have the data to show they are a fraudulent company with the system that is designed to defraud America. There was no data. None. And here in writing on January 20th, we are gaining access to Dominion systems under the radar. In writing, which is the same thing that Dr. Frank said, and Dr. Frank got Tina to do. What the fuck? So yeah, 4 different times they tried to infiltrate me. This is the guy, the first time that infiltrated me. And after I find out all of this, it's actually not this guy. Here's the kicker. It's not this guy. It's not this British agent. Mike Lindell was funding this British agent. What the fuck? That's how far a lot of this goes back. Who's really funding what? So from my site, once I called this guy out as being all these people just vaporized, just fucking dropped off the radar. To this day, I have no idea where this guy is. I basically included an article there. You can read it. You can see all the intrigue and stuff. But this is how long this stuff has been going on. But that's a very long story to tell you about. You asking about somebody on calling into Alex Jones and trying to corner Mike on PCAPs that aren't real. Mike brings up my name, then says he funded me, which is not correct. Well, I guess it is in a way, because it's actually this British agent. How did that happen? And then they got 2 or 3 other deals, and they're trying to get President Trump to sign an executive order to fast track some sort of cure for COVID and get it out and give it to everybody. And that backsplashed on President Trump, just like the PCAPs. Mike darted real quickly from the PCAPs and gave no answer, and I told you they're repackaging themselves. Anyway, I'm sorry for being so long about that answer. And let me go back and look at some of it. It's really deep, isn't it? Right? Really deep, isn't it? This goes back all the way. The very first person from an executive level in Arizona that took the time, you gotta how it do it, whatever. It's this fellow fucking by Randy Pullen, who inserted himself in the audit, and he was the one that picked my brain Thanksgiving of 2020. You're all over the place. When people want you to do it, this is going to be big. Explain to me how you do it. What do you look for? Isn't it weird? Isn't it weird? I try to make sense of all of this. It just keeps on coming back and keeps on coming back and keeps on coming back. And this thing, which I guess is defunct, FEC United, then I find out, well, hell, that's where Colonel Sean Smith came from. And he's the one that says, don't clean the voter rolls. He was part of FEC. And so he directly ties into the same cast of people, even way back before then. And these are the same people swamp glom onto Tina. They got Tina in jail. They're trying to throw Matt in jail, and it's the same motherfucking people. And here he is, puts in writing, we're getting all their access to the systems under the radar, which is a crime. And he's like, oh, no biggie. How does that happen? Can anybody explain it to me? I can't make sense of it. Can anybody explain it to me? I just know throughout all this stuff, they've been trying just to get to me. We want to see the code. We want to do the code. We want to know what it is. And it's been one infiltration after infiltration after infiltration. I have hard lines. I don't go for that shit. Anyway, let me look over here in chat. The solution is paper one-day voting, paper poll books, okay, etc. Somebody said 36 cases currently being prosecuted are MAGA. Somebody said 95% of the fraud in 2020 was MAGA. Okay. Okay. Hold on one second. Let me get back to all these chats. Somebody joining on Getter just to troll, brand new account just created. But it's interesting. If you want to see who that fake, if you ever get a troll, what you want to do is you want to look at who follows them and then who they follow. That's how you learn who they really are. Interesting. That person is followed by War Room. Now that's interesting. Was a person trolling me on. I've asked Mike to be on my show numerous times. Never has. He said, yeah. Never gets it done. Let me look at the other questions. Hang on. There's a movement in Wisconsin calling for audits of the swing states. They are claiming fraud. Yeah, and it will be the auditors that they approved. I don't know how to reconcile that one, right? Which they approved. CC Jones says, what do you think the reason for Carrie's comment about how deep and dirty the swamp is? Carrie's one of the ones that's told the truth a lot of the time. She's finding out how bad it's been embedded into America's voice as she tries to clean it up. And she's finding it's so deep, it's very hard to clean it up by getting rid of certain people because it's offspring of offspring of offspring of offspring. And I'll give you a good example. When we talked earlier this week about the signal leak, it was Mike Waltz, right? But the person who actually did it was a fellow by the last name of Wong. The second to Waltz, his wife, is in D.C. Waltz has this guy that is one of his intel or whatever guys, as I understand it, Asian fellow. This Asian fellow's wife is one of the J6 prosecutors. His wife is a J6 prosecutor. Isn't that weird? Anyway, I look, audits mean nothing. Audits mean nothing. And here's how I mean audits mean nothing. Unless they're going to do a real audit, a true audit, the type of stuff I show you. And these guys fight, well, that's not really a forensic audit. We don't get anything, but we do get one of the drives. And they technically do that forensically. So that's a forensic audit. Bullshit. Bullshit. You're right. It's some deep shit, isn't it? And you're right, caller. Who the fuck vetted that guy? Right? Who the hell vetted that guy? Hang on one second. Okay. Who vetted it? So they're saying Wong, that's his name, which is something Wong's brother, I guess. Anyway, yeah, the NPR president is on the chairman of the board of Signal and literally was part of Wikipedia. Anyway, that's why I said I don't understand this Brnovich appointment. I don't. I wish I did. But I don't. Right? Oh, there it is. Hang on. I did talk about it. July 5th, 2022. So let me give you this. So we have this, and then we have this. So President Trump, I'm pleased to announce that Mark Brnovich will be our next United States ambassador to Serbia. Mark is a proud veteran of the Army National Guard and previously served as Attorney General for the great state of Arizona. As a son of refugees who fled communism, Mark will be a strong advocate for freedom, right? And I can't reconcile that with President Trump sent a letter to Brnovich. This is how it's really weird. It was July 5th, 2022. Told you it was midterms 2022. Quit using my name. I have not endorsed you. Boom. He's United States ambassador. I can't make heads or tails of these things. I can't. I don't know. I can't make heads or tails of these things. Governor Waltz is Tim. The national whatever DOJ guy is Mark Waltz. They're both Waltz, two different people. Anyway, there's something that tells me maybe at this level for an ambassadorship, Trump really didn't know. I don't think Brnovich puts America first. I can tell you that firsthand. But I do trust President Trump. I do trust President Trump. But some of this stuff is so convoluted and incestuous and dirty, right? Like going back to all this stuff. I mean, it's just always been there, right? Just always, they're always infiltrating. They're always easing their way in. They're always holding up people. In case you didn't know it, I want to point something out to you. Don't you understand that as soon as USAID funding got shut down and they started cutting off, don't you understand how many of those network stars, Joy Reids and stuff of all those bullshit networks magically got booted off the network? Because the networks weren't fucking paying for those people. USAID was. Think about that. Think about that. Oh my God, is today Happy Transgender Visibility Day? What does that mean? Show me your transgender. Make it visible. Who the fuck knows? And yes, it's way too many parts for President Trump to keep track of. So I don't hold any of this against President Trump. Can I change the subject? I just need to. Off topic, who's that statue beside me? Which one? This one? This one? This one? Which one are you talking about? This one here is about 2,500 years old. The wooden one here. And if I was to grab it and flip it with, look at it, it's carved out of a single piece of driftwood, right? Right? And these are various iterations of Tibetan deities, and maybe some of you might call it Buddhas or whatever, right? I love Asian art. And I have one of my collections is Asian art and Asian artifacts. Tina, is your birthday? Happy birthday. And so I have many, 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 many ancient artifacts. Many, many. Trying to figure out how many are in reach, and I would show you some. You know what's really interesting? Have you been watching my Facebook? So many historic discoveries are coming forward and finally being acknowledged that we used to fight for. They see the light of day 25 years ago, 30 years ago. We were fighting for this stuff to come public, that these structures do exist, etc. And now I just think you can't hold it back anymore. Now all these new discovery, a massive Bronze Age iron hoard was found, etc. So I've been posting on my Facebook. I still post those on my Facebook so you can look at some of the stuff. So some of the things are going on. Somebody said, Kuhn said, I can see why Trump would hire Arizona AG, guaranteed it's because he can be blackmailed and so would have to do whatever Trump's tell him if he wants to stay out of jail, which you have proof of. Okay, well, I can see that too. I hope we get some asset out of it. I really do. And yes, Tinkerbell, the Asian artists pay such attention to detail. If you've ever been to Angkor Wat or some of this other stuff now, I'm really fascinated, right? I'm really fascinated with it. Let me change the subject. It's been kind of icky. I don't want to end on that. Right? I mentioned earlier with all the historic stuff going, I got to get out into the mountains and do exploration. And there's a part of my life that I have no problem living in a remote camp in a desert or a mountain or the Arctic or whatever, and be on the ground for a month or two, right? I love it. Sleep out under the stars, etc. I told you I want to pack up the Percherons and get into the mountains, the big mountains. I've got some particular things I want to work on. This is a Percheron. Do y'all know what Percherons are? Right? These are Percherons. Percherons, ancient breed of horses that are really designed for mountains and work. But most people don't know who were the famous Percheron riders. Do you know who the famous Percheron riders were in the world? Right? By the way, Pennies from Heaven, thank you so very much for that generous tip. All of you guys in supporting our work and our program. Every bit of it makes a difference. And I just want to know I love you back. I love doing this. I love being able to educate and to help. And I just want to let you know that all of your help get this done. But who were the ancient Percheron riders? Do you know? Percherons were the horses that the Templars rode. And it was a very important part of ancient Templars, and it only looks Arabian simply because of that color. You're used to seeing Arabians with it, right? But it's called a Percheron. Knights and the Templars or whatever are the ones that rode Percherons. And unlike the movie War Horse, this was the war horse of choice. And this is how you got to understand battle back then, because you think about going into battle and close combat and whatever the case may be, right? And yes, it comes with about 50 pounds of poo at a time, but this is how Templars or Knights, this is part of how people couldn't get to them. And it's because they were so high up. And if you think about some of the armor and the leggings and stuff, they couldn't take cuts or whatever the case were, because they were just too high up. But if they ran over you, they would crush you. And they were trained not only to run through people, but to stomp people. So these are my preferred mountain horses. And Percherons are beautiful animals. All of your gear has to be custom because there's nothing in the horse world that fucking fits them in any way, right? Yeah, they go, it's just a flesh wound. That's what these are. But I love Percherons. Majestic animals. And I just need to get out in the mountains and whatever. With that said, when y'all asked about it, right, they're incredible animals, right? They're massive. Right? And you get on them from ladders or steps or whatever. That's why so many of the knights had the helpers and stuff, because they got to get them. Yeah, and it's riding a tank. It's riding an animal tank. But also the reason you do this, these mountains are particularly adept at mountain country. So when you've got to go up that mountain that's at a freaking 80 degree, this horse is going to tackle it no problem. Right? No problem. But they are truly gentle souls. But you don't own a Percheron if you're timid, because, right? Because a horse can sense your fear, and it will make the horse. It's ironic. You look at a horse this big, and if you have a fear of the horse is going to sense it. So you can't let that happen. And so if you have a fear of the horse, okay, they're going to sense it, and they're going to think you're going to hurt them. And they get defensive. And yes, ladies or guys, you're about asshole crack high looking at them from behind. So don't stand too close from behind. I'm just telling you, right? But you got to understand, with a horse like this, you got to be fearless. You got to understand they're a great animal. They're in sync with you. But if you show fear that you are afraid of them, it will transfer that fear to the horse, and that horse will fear you're going to hurt it. You get kicked by him, you're dead. They're not buckers. They'll rear up and roll you off the back, but they're not buckers. But if you were to stand behind one that wasn't yours, wasn't trained, and it made it fearful, and it placed it's going to stop your heart when it hits you. It's going to crush your chest, and it's going to pulverize your head. Right? With that said, I want to do one thing. There's part of me right now, because it's planting season and everything else, and I got to tell you, I miss my dad. I miss my dad, who died Thanksgiving before last, because as stuff and family farms and stuff is going, I have a lot of questions about some things going on that I just really don't know how to accomplish and do. And I know my father would. I know my father would know, but I can't call him. So along with this, God, I need a break, right? And since you brought up, relaxation or getting in the mountains or whatever the case may be, or treasures or whatever. Somebody asked about biblical treasures or whatever. Let me show you something. Can I throw back? Let's take a break for a few minutes. After I'd already retired, I've retired multiple times in my life, but after the last time I'd retired, Tracy's saying the whole thing. Yeah, I'm having a hard problem. I want to talk to my dad. I got some technical questions and stuff we're doing, some things we're dealing with animals and livestock and just, ranch and farm management issues. I can't reach out to them. I just want to play something was one of the best things in my life that I ever got to do with my dad. And it's because when we would go out in the field, and let's say I'm deployed in the field on an expedition, and I'm out in the field with millions of dollars of high-tech equipment. And many times we're operating in really dangerous areas like the Four Corners and stuff. And you got all this drug trafficking and shit going on there. And when we roll in with our gear, which you'll see, when we roll in with our gear, the drug traffickers think we're police, which we're not. But then they also get a load of the gear. They want to just come rob you and take you out, right? My dad was my base camp manager for years and years and years. So not only did he take care of everything in base camp, but he was also the cook, everything. Always took care of our base camp, right? So I want to show you, because it'll show you my dad. My dad, you'll see, my dad was a little fellow. But you talk about a tough dude. Let me play you a little throwback of what I was doing because I was retired before having to dig into this. I think you'll enjoy it.
We've lost so much history as mankind. You got to decode the truth to find the payday. There's millions of dollars out there, bona fide treasure, unaccounted for. But you got to have the ability and the balls to get out and look for it. You can't play at treasure hunting. In any treasure hunt, there are inherent dangers. You have to have real people that will put themselves in real danger to get to the real payoff. We are the greatest in the world at what we do.
Well, I'm pretty excited about this one because you remember about 20 years ago, I started chasing this one when I found those Spanish symbols.
Yeah, this is the one you were chasing in high school, right? My name is Hutton Pulitzer, and I am commander of Treasure Force. We're a team of scientists and researchers, and we're chasing lost history to recover treasure.
We did this crap as kids, make-believe, and now we're doing it for real.
I don't think we get asked for anything better as grown men.
My advice is don't listen to people when they tell you to grow up. Never grow up.
Treasure Force started when we were kids, literally. I was 6, Beast was 9. One day, we're swimming in the river. Beast climbs up in a tree, does his traditional Tarzan yell, jumps out in the river. He didn't come up. In a few minutes, a bubble bubbles up. I hear this weird gargling scream. I think he's in trouble. And about that time, all these money bags float to the top of the river. He had found a safe from a robbery down in the bottom of the river, and it changed us for life. I feel better now doing stuff that we were doing as kids than I ever felt working on Wall Street.
And now we're getting paid to do this.
I was a kid who always hated my name. I was born Jeffrey Jovan Filial. I was the tech whiz kid to be the next, Wall Street king. I built a very large technology company. I was living the American dream. Jets, limos, celebrities, sports stars, you name it, money being thrown at you. And when the dot-com crash happened, literally, I changed everything, including my name. I started a brand new life, recreating the me I wanted to be, the kid that got hooked on adventure. I'm reliving my childhood days, hunting for treasure. This is who I really am. And you know what? I'm happy. When you're running millions of dollars of equipment, or you're potentially going to go recover $500 million in gold, you need people that you can trust. So I started with family first in assembling my team.
I'm Beast. My specialty is survival and artifacts. Commander and I are first cousins.
You see Beast today, and you see this big 6'5" hulking guy. Well, Beast has been that size since he was in kindergarten.
I was an only child growing up, and Commander was basically The closest thing I had to a little brother.
See if we whack him if we break this from the structure.
Watch your eyes.
I got it. Okay, hang on.
You hear him tell it, I beat the hell out of him every day. You all right? I just remember tweaking his attitude a little bit.
Commander, this is Echo Team, over.
Frog is called Frog on the team simply because he's technically a frogman. That's exactly what his expertise is, diving, technical situations, military situations.
I've got a background in law enforcement, paramedics, firefighting. I was a soldier in the U.S. infantry.
You look at Frog and his Blackwater experience, and he's a nice guy, but he's the guy that could kill you with a Band-Aid if that's all he had to kill you with. He is the ultimate soldier. Put him in that dark hole where most people, if they went in, would not survive. He gets the mission done and comes right back out and is eager for more.
Hey, where's the seasoning that came off of this table? I'm Sarge, and I basically run the base camp.
Sarge is my own father, and Sarge calls me Commander.
Doesn't bother me to call him Commander. I still rule him. You all know the base camp rule. Pick it up and put it in the trash can because I'm not coming behind you and treat you like you're a baby.
Sarge, being 82 years old, I still wouldn't tangle with him.
How's it going?
All right, keep on going. I am Flex.
I am the civilian on the team. I have to do my flex pose all the time.
I describe Flex as Arnold Schwarzenegger crossed with Jackie Chan, but in a woman's body.
Come here, I'll give you a hand up right here.
Sod off, Joker. I don't need your help.
That's Flex. She's like, I'll kick your ass if you fuck up. And don't talk to me too much. Just let me do my job.
Keep in mind, mountain lions like to get up from behind you. They like to get a hold of the back of your neck and snap it. Well, that wasn't no joke. My name is Joker. I have an extensive military background. I was an infantryman. I was in during Operation Desert Shield, Desert Storm. I have a lot of expertise in small arms fire.
Joker's a pretty boy, nice-looking guy, likes to shoot the shit and stuff, but he's a killer. Don't let him fool you.
This is Indian sex stone.
Where are you always messing around?
You know what that is, don't you?
What? I don't want to know.
Just a fucking rock. I do a lot of pranks like, you know, peeing in people's water. I'm just kidding. I swear I've never done that.
I hope not.
Over our last 10 years in Treasure Force, we've found lost gold mines, Spanish treasures, Incan treasures. We have found stone artifacts that relate to the Olmec culture, the Aztec culture, and even the Mayan culture. We found jade artifacts. We have found gold artifacts, and our most recent one was cracking a 156-year-old treasure legend called the Lost Adams Diggings, and we were able to crack that one as well. But this particular expedition we've decided to go after is the Jim Bowie mine. People know of Jim Bowie because the Bowie knife, the most famous knife in the world. And of course, in Texas, he was one of the fighters that died at the Alamo. But what most people don't know is he actually came to Texas because he was a professional treasure hunter. Texas was not a state yet, it was part of Mexico. He heard about this massive silver mine in this area. In his research, he found out it was actually an ancient Spanish mine. In the late 1500s, the Spanish actually started using these mine shafts as their vaults. That's where they would store their valuables, their silver, and their gold. He was able to confirm where it was, but he never made it back to the mines because shortly thereafter, he went to fight with the men at the Alamo and subsequently died. And the legend and the treasure in the mine was lost once again.
I guarantee you there's a cave system in here.
We had to do a lot of digging through Spanish archives, and we were able to narrow it down within a specific area. So I'm going to take Delta Team and have Delta Team scan up and down this particular river and look for Spanish signs, Spanish carvings, or any man-made caverns. If we're right, $100 million payday.
This is what I was looking at.
Shit, look at this.
It's like a
Look
big
at this
old,
thing.
like an eyeball,
Yeah.
right?
You've got two of them up there, and then you almost look like you've got this looks like a turtle.
Turtle. It is a turtle. That's probably what it is.
Oh, what? Can you see this
Wouldn't
one
that
over
be
here?
something
Here,
else?
can you see this one over here? There's another one coming out there that's got something carved into it. You see that?
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and get Commander up here. Commander, this is Joker. Come in.
Go ahead, Joker.
We're down on the creek bed.
heading? Flex has found some very interesting carvings.
I'm not that far away from you. Let me get your coordinates pulled down. ETA probably 5 minutes, over.
Just wanted to let you know, I was the one that found it, so if it's for real, I found it.
You'll get credit for it. You'll get credit. If these are Spanish carvings, then it's huge. We could prove something historically is here. It's probably pointing us to something that we need to see.
You know what? If this is carved, I mean, look at this. Well, yeah. See, this is hard. This is not weathering, right?
Right.
This can be chipped away in weathering, right? And that's even still hard, even though it's out. And it's got patina on it, so whenever it was done, if it was carved, you still have old patina on it.
Now wait, there's one more. Come here. I want to show you this one. Look down the side of this wall and tell me when you find something interesting.
You know what I want to do?
What's that?
Get on this side and take a look at it. You're going to be
true.
amazed at how much that looks like a turtle head. Come look over here.
Yeah.
A turtle head. That is a decidedly Spanish symbol. When you study Spanish symbols, for some reason, they chose the turtle as being the pointer to their warehouses. There you go. Now that's impressive.
Right.
Yeah, if you look straight at these, you can see the faces clearly.
Yeah.
This one's obviously looking at us.
Oh, what a big difference.
It's got a perfect eye.
Sure.
You can see the difference in that mouth. When you find those two together, that usually means a cave. And it's probably under an overhang, because that's how they cut the mouth,
Okay.
right? And if you look back at this one, if we've got a sighting line over here, nose, mouth, 2 eyes. If we've got a sighting line over here, usually that's a triangulation feature, but you've got one looking straight at us, and it basically, if it's carved right, and if that's what they did, it says, we're gonna find a cave. And it's gonna be straight up in here somewhere. We got a whole nother limestone cliff. Try to look in that cliff, and somewhere in there, start looking for man-made holes, see if we got them on this side.
Okay.
I'm gonna start heading up here and see what we got up here.
All right.
Okay.
Good.
Man, look at all the sparkling stuff on the side
I
of that
see it.
bluff.
That whole cliff side has.
See that bluish looking stone there? What's that?
You know what that is? I've never seen that in person. Oh, there's some there. Look.
Let me get my pick.
See it? It's got a light blue in it.
Yeah. Can we get some of that out?
Give me a whack right here. Let's just see what we got. Crack it from the side. Oh, holy smokes. Hang on.
Yeah, there's a big chunk of it.
Oh, mother. Look at that. Holy shit. That's about 80,000, 90,000 carats. Oh. You know, treasure hunting doesn't only mean minted Spanish gold bars or silver or jewels or whatever. You see that blue? Check this shit out. Turn that out. This, chalcedony, this is like the new and cab material. That means where they make brooches and stuff. This planet is loaded with all kinds of treasure if you just know what to look for. That's $50,000 to $100,000 cut treasure right. That paid for the expedition right there. One rock.
If this is $150,000, I'm packing it out of here.
That's
not
awesome.
You.
Have at it. Come on.
Get my pick.
It's yours, baby. Have at it.
Jesus Christ and Andrew Jackson, look at that. I'll be a son of a bitch.
Let me see.
Look at this. Look at this.
For God's sakes. What a find. This, I mean, this is it. I mean, it.
This is. Look at this. Look at this.
Really?
Look at the way this is cut here.
Right.
This is it.
Oh, it has to be, doesn't it?
Oh my God,
Should we
dude.
just accidentally fall in there and go finding our way through?
Well, I guess we got two options here. We go in there and try to find it all ourselves, or we call Commander. And you know, if we don't call Commander, what's gonna happen?
That is something else.
Commander, this Joker.
Come back, Joker.
Are you sitting down?
Go ahead. What you got?
You know what I think I'm looking at?
I think I'm looking at the entrance to the Jim effing Bowie mine.
So just if you ever wanted to know what I was really doing when I retired, that's what I was doing. Its system tries to make fun of me, like, oh, I'm a treasure hunter. Well, yeah, they kind of positioned it as a treasure hunter, but history is history. and forensic research, which is really what we do. You know, you spend 99% of your time researching, right? And once you get your 99% research down and done, right, then you literally get your feet on the ground and do what you do. And so we've been called in. I was the only one in the world that had managed a terrestrial recovery team. That's a terrestrial recovery, right? And so we've been called all over the world and worked all over the world to do it. So that's what I was doing. That's when you hear the system try to refer to me as a treasure hunter, I guess they should. I understand why they do that. But if you were to look at my publishing work, you know, I've written, 200 lost history books, right? Etc. And then you've seen me Discovery Channel, History Channel, PBS, Sci-Fi Channel, etc. About that time, too, we were asked to come in to help out on the Curse of Oak Island, which is kind of where the people say I was hunting for the lost ark, but I wasn't. Curse of Oak Island had been around for 220 years. Errol Flynn was there, FDR was there, John Wayne was there and trying to help out. And two brothers had finally got a hold of 50% ownership in the island. It's in Canada, can be looked at. And so the History Channel had shot, I guess, 6 shows and knew they had something, right? Knew they had something. But just didn't know how to really go about it. And Oak Island mystery is just a phenomenal mystery, been written about forever. Franklin Delano Roosevelt, way before he became president, was interested in it. Anyway, and so we get a call one day, and I'm at home in Montana, and get a call, and it's the producers going, hey, you know, you're the only person in the world that actually does this, that has a team that's actually professional treasure recovery. And all it is research and exploration. I get called in by a government. They think something's out there. They just don't know how to find it. And so, you know, we're going into old archives, and we're using satellite data, and we're translating documents. And most everybody is repurposed military of some type from many, many, many different countries for many, many different skills. And if you think about Oak Island, you know, who wouldn't want to participate in Oak Island? So they knew they had a show that could potentially work, but they didn't know how to do it. So I got the phone call, met the brothers. That's what you saw kind of at the beginning of that thing. You know, I'm doing a lot of my tracking and petroglyph pointing back. Here's the ancient symbols. Here's what's really here. So when I got the call, I said, yeah, I'll be glad to participate. But you're not going to like what I tell you. And they go, what do you mean? And I go, well, you know, I've spent many years researching it from afar. I kind of know what it actually is versus what you're saying it is. Yes, all my books are on Amazon. Just type in my full name, Jovan, Hutton, Pulitzer. Let me see if I can. A lot of them are broken down by state. Hang on one second. And this is why you'll hear people kind of get, he's like a commander. Well, yeah, I hold a rank. Yes, I do. And it's because I manage a professional exploration team around the globe. And so, yes, that's my rank, technically, etc. Right? Let me see if I can share my screen. Share screen here. And so I have all kinds of books regarding history. And there's the play on words, commander in chief. Chief is my wolf, where I really do have a wolf. and it's a play on words of commander-in-chief. Anyway, my gear you see here, my shoulder packs, everybody asked about my customized gear. They're all kinds of scientific equipment, right? Even though things might look like a gun, I'm shooting handheld LiDAR, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's normally me and what I was doing. Anyway, so they called and said, we're on Oak Island. We're going to do a show about Oak Island, and we just don't really know what we're doing. Will you come in and help us figure it out? And so I took a contract with the television producers to help them understand really what it takes to track down lost treasures. And then I took a contract with the brothers who owned the island to come to the island and use our skills to figure out what was going on. Oak Island has this 18-story deep hole in it that had killed tons of people that had ever tried to go in it. And so our team, like you saw in that frog and stuff, and that's used to recovering dead bodies. That's a real going in to get a dead body that had been missing for 20 years to recover the body. So the, parents could put their child to rest, and I got all the footage one day. I think I've shown it before, finding them and what it looks like, etc. Anyway, so we came in and we did season 2, but I told them there's not a treasure here, but I'll give you the real history of it if you want to know the real history of it. And I remember just before the series started in History Channel, by the way, it's been going for 10 years now, I guess 10 or 11 years. It's the #1 show on history. Back then they knew they had a hit. They didn't just know how to do it. So we taught them all to do it. So when you saw the team come in to scan, that it scanned the Titanic, that was my team. I told them it's the single most important place in North America as to the ancient history of the world that's been covered up. But again, it's kind of funny. I found out like TV is a lot like fucking politics. I can remember after being on the island and doing our stuff and coming back and doing the dive, and I had to fight with the network because my dive team is a husband and wife team, and they did not want a woman on there. And I said, all of my team are 50-50. I always pair a man with a woman. Well, they didn't want that, right? And they also said she's ugly. I said, I'm not going to put my people's lives in danger where this place has already killed 6 people. And I had to fight with the producers about, you don't get to tell me. I'm not going to take some Canadian diver that we've never dived with when this fucking thing will kill you. So I had to have that. It's 12 season, thank you. I had to have that fight over and over. But I said, I'm not putting my people in danger. Canadians never really dealt with it. They thought it was a joke. So I put my team in. We're going in with respirators, not normal dive gear, because then we can stay underwater for 24 hours. Yes, 24 hours. If you do a tethered dive, you can only stay down for about 12 minutes total. And it's fucking going to take you 9 minutes to get down to the bottom. Anyway, so we got in. We knew what it was. We scanned the chamber. I already told them it's a burial ground. It goes back way before the prehistory of Canada. I had glyphs. I had all this other stuff. And I said, you're chasing around looking for fucking wood, and it says to be a treasure legend, and it's not. The treasure's history. It's not a pot of gold under this thing. And so we kind of had a parting of the ways, because as I want to bring forth true history, like the old ancient oaks that were there when I interviewed the natives, and I go back in their history because I interviewed all the native chiefs, they said in ancient times, those trees were planted by men that came in boats. And it was a pretty specific tree out of Africa, out of Carthage, Africa. that grew that ancient mariners used, right? And I said, you got to understand the history of this island is ancient sea mariners that shouldn't be here. And we kind of had a falling out over what could or could not be talked about. And just before the show really aired and this became this mega hit, you know, there was maybe 800,000 people watch it. Then I do the season, boom, we're up to 8 million people watching it. We kind of came down to, you got to tell the truth. I remember getting a phone call from the producer saying, you're going to see the show, but it's not going to be like you think. And they said, our only goal is to get to 100 episodes. And I said, well, my goal is not to have you manipulate this. I want to bring the history. The oaks had been cut down long ago. Zero Dark, you're not the only one there. The oaks have been cut down long and long ago. And actually, in the 70s, they found some of the oaks. They brought them up from underground. And when they were cutting up some of the oaks, in the middle of it was this multiple metal artifacts. And they didn't pay attention to it. They sent them off. They were eventually sent off to the United States Military Testing Lab. Now, this is in Nova Scotia, Canada. And the damn thing are Roman crossbow bolts. Roman. And so all hell broke loose because there's a clause with the island that if they find anything older than I think about 7040 or 1700, the government gets to seize the island. And the government of Canada seized that island 3 or 4 times. And so I'm uncovered. Here's the reports. They're Roman crossbow bolts, et cetera, et cetera. It created such a controversial storm in archaeology. The locals hated me for it. The archaeologists hated me for it. It's not a Templar thing. It's well before the Templars. I'm telling them this came out of ancient Carthage. Here it is. Go up to these cliffs. That's where you see it at the beginning, scanning. They're miles away. I said, this was a port. This was a freshwater thing. Here is where an ancient cache of gold coins, Carthaginian coins, gold Carthaginian coins. I said, when the sailors get off the ships, they go hide their shit. I'm showing them everything about truly how ancient this is. And I'm showing all these petroglyphs. And I'm saying, you understand this is a map of the ocean in reverse. I had a battle with Canadian archaeologists because they called this one symbol, which looked like a plus sign. Oh, I'm going to show you this. Get ready. You'll like this. Hang on. I haven't looked this up in so long. I haven't published my book on this yet. Only because I decided to wait till the series ran its course. And it's gone on for 12 years, but I will publish it. Let me show you something very funny. So here's the that's not, you know what the island looks like. Okay. Hang on. So once again, my work and shit goes viral because I'm telling the truth. Where is this? It's got to be here. And I'm showing them things that you think are Templar bullshit aren't Templar. It's ancient proto Berber. We're talking pre-biblical times. And so they're trying to struggle with these artifacts, and I'm decoding them and showing them, and they think they're signs to treasure, and it's not, and, you know, just all this other stuff. And I'm having to try to teach these guys what it really is. Oh, this is a Templar one, and this is this. And of course, they weren't willing to cover the serious stuff. Well, they got their goal. They've been able to stretch this on. I'm looking for a particular glyph. So let me see if I can find it this way. But you'll like this. And I'll show you what made it go to hell in a handbasket. Hang on, I'm looking for it. Of course, all of this back then, it's a lot with being ancient history that you're not supposed to know. Well, damn, I can't actually find this. They probably scrubbed it since I exposed it. Let me look one more time. Hang on. One more time. Because you're going to love this. Oh, damn it. Here we go. And so what I had to go do, part of what I had to do was I had to show them what all of this was. And I told the producers right up front, you're not going to like what I'm going to show you, but I'm going to show you the official history, what you need to know. Now, you got to understand this is wildly controversial because the Canadian government manages the money, okay, of the tribes. Now, here's the symbol. Now, they tried to say that a symbol on the left was the original symbol of the Mi'kmaq people, which is not true. But these were the glyphs. When you see me scanning and creating by 3D, I'm rescanning these glyphs. If you look to the right, you see that little thing there dangling? The Canadian archaeologist called that a vagina on a stick. You see what they saw? A vagina on a stick. And so I literally had to show them, well, it's not a vagina on a stick. It's a boat that has sails, that has backups of oars. So it was a ship that could sail across the oceans, but it also had oars. By the way, it's called a Mahoney. And by the way, where are we? We're in Mahoney Bay. Why do the ancients call it Mahoney? Because when you look down in the waters, you see that down there where they won't let you investigate the ships. That's an ancient Phoenician Mahoney. And I said, you see these little dots up top and these little legs? And then you see that one that looks like a plus sign? Well, the dots at the legs, that's the map route they went. So you look down here, it's actually oriented a different way. The ship would follow these two stars, and it could go one of these different currents. Here's the little arms. Here's where they stopped, and they are following Pleiades. And if you want to come back, you follow, right, the Southern Star. I mapped all of these points and showed them how they hopped. They come out of Gates of Hercules. They go here to Spain, here to France, boom, 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 and stop coming all the way around, right? And then you line up on this cliff, and if you could point to the South Star, the Southern Cross, you put back in the water, and it will return you from whence you came. And I said, and had it confirmed. So this is a map of Pleiades. By the way, Canadians do not see Pleiades this way. It's in reverse. This is a map coming from the Far East to Canada. Anyway, so I broke open what the history was, and it really became a disgusting battle because there was just so much money involved managing the native nations and all this other stuff. And so I had probably the most fun in my life. It's very interesting to be involved in history. I'll tell you something very simple, though. Ever since I started doing work trying to understand what was election, Wikipedia and all tried to erase all this history about me, all of these things, and then amplified stuff which was total fucking nonsense about a sword, which had nothing to do with us. I just did the metallurgy testing, right? Anyway, so I had really a lot of fun, and this is what I spent a lot of my time doing. And it's what I would do if I ever was able to just let go of this shit, right? And get back to the real world of what I want to do and how I'm built and how I'm made. The whole point is everything I do is deep research. You know, I'm having to go back to ancient archives in the Middle East to find this stuff, to track it down. I'm having to study ancient petroglyphs and stuff. And oh, by the way, just so you know, it's so old that this thing that I said was a boat with oars, I found it. Now, here's what I mean. You ready? The people of the land, which are called the Mi'kmaq, are the ancient Ma-Mish from Egypt. They're the only displaced American Indian, North American Indian tribe that has never moved from their lands. Nobody thought to ask the chiefs and stuff. Well, if you look at their language, right, it's part of the Algonquin tribes. Canada didn't want this history out because it's all about manifest destiny. When you look at the ancient people, I'm looking at their language. Now, these are people that are seal hunters predominantly. And I'm telling them, these people that you think are Native American Indians are not. They're from ancient Egypt. And of course, that caused batshit crazy. But I showed them in their own language, not only do they have nautical terms for ships, and this is not a ship-faring people, but 1/3 of their language is Egyptian, 1/3 of their language is Hebrew. And when the missionaries got there in the 1800s, the missionaries commented, holy shit, these people know Jesus and the Bible and ancient history in the Middle East. And that's when the missionaries got there. That's the 1800s. But the government wouldn't deal with it because they say, nope, that started right here and the missionaries taught them that. I showed them the fucking journals from the missionaries. They did not. These are ancient people, much more ancient. Well, and I'm trying to tell them, this goes back to Roman, Egyptian times, et cetera, 1st century, blah, 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 blah. Right? Puts all the Viking shit the same up there in the meadows. So it causes this controversy. So I had to develop a new theory to prove this. And so what I called it was ACE theory, which is what I use now in a lot of my editing stuff, ACE theory. And ACE stands for archaeological coincidence as evidence, ACE. That all of a sudden, if you just map everything that's there that's weird, eventually all these coincidences, if they get tied together, prove the event happened. So I'm telling the world that this was an ancient mariner stop. Ancient peoples were coming here. I'm finding Proto-Canaanite, Berber, Libyan Berber from Carthage, Africa. We're finding coins from that time, which they said, no, that must have been a tourist who dropped them when they were on vacation. Who fucking carries 2,000 euro coins in their pockets? Do you? And drop them on vacation. Anyway, So I had to present this paper, and here's what I did. So let's go backwards. You got this little bitty, here's this island, and I drew a 10-mile radius, a 20-mile radius, a 50-mile radius, and a 100-mile radius. And right in the center is this little bitty island. So I said, let's look at all the coincidences we have regarding this island. Number one, the Native Americans say it's sacred. So that puts a target right on this island. The Native Americans say ancient people from across the seas came here and taught us. Well, that's why they got Egyptian, Hebrew, and in their language. So I'm going, okay, if it's ancient mariners, then we got to think about what would an ancient mariner bring with them? Have you ever gone camping? You pack your shit, right? You pack your shit. Well, what would an ancient mariner take? Animals for food, grain, plants, seeds, all this other shit, right? They'd pack it up on their ships, and here they come. They're exploring. So I'm going to give them to you in rapid fire of why this caused such a stink and why archaeology hates me. Right off of this little bitty island. See, Oak Island's only about 50 yards off the mainland. It never was an island, which I was explaining to him. This wasn't a fucking island. In low water, you can walk across it. It's just the water levels have come up over several thousand years. So I said, let me show you some things. Number one, what did ancient mariners carry with them on ships for good luck? And they didn't know. I said, well, they carried peacocks. Peacocks, pea birds, were considered good luck on the ship. And they would paint the eye of the peacock on the front of the ship. There'd be this eye of a peacock. Some people relate it to the eye of Ra. It's not. That's number one. I said, where is the single largest colony of wild peacocks in the Americas? Well, 50 miles from the island, 25 miles from the island. Nobody knows how they got there. They're a totally wild breed of peacocks, and they're not indigenous to the United States of America. And all these peacocks are the ancient North African breeds. So here's all these fucking peacocks. How'd they get here? I said, what did the ancient mariners carry on the ship with them for their health? Because they'd have problems typically with things like scurvy. You know what scurvy is. Well, they carried this particular bush that would make these little bitty blue or red berries, right? And I said, what is the origin of that plant? Well, that plant comes from the ancient Levant, North Africa. I said, okay, we're going to go to the archives in Nova Scotia. What is the number one out of place plant life artifact that's all over not only the edge of this island, all the way up this mountainside, all the way down here and down here? What is it? Well, it's that bush. They brought them with them to eat. Subsequently, you drop some that grows. And I said, and here's 12 other plants that are all listed as invasive species in this side of Canada. They don't know where they came from, but somehow they got there. Every fucking one of them come from the ancient Levant. Got these gold coins. Got this, got that, got this, got that. All of them are within that circle. And so when I did language and biology, right, and animal husbandry, plants, you name it, everything, if you were doing an expedition, here it is. They still wouldn't do it. And then I showed them things they hadn't seen. I started showing them ideograms and petroglyphs, these things. And I showed them this ship with sails and oars has been documented here in Canada. And I said the natives documented it. And they said, no, the church, if they did it, the church was telling them stories, and they drew pictures of what the church was telling them in 1800s. And so I showed them the ships. I showed them the ships. Drawn into petroglyphs, drawn from broadside, where you see the people, the rowers, the sails. I showed them all this shit, even depictions of holy men. And they didn't want to believe it. And the reason they covered it up when I'm showing them everything documented is, by the way, these petroglyphs are about 2,000 years old. Now, if I did this, Canadian history would go to shit. But when they start talking to me and I'm showing them all this, the problem with the petroglyphs is they're 6 feet underwater. Yeah. 2,000 years ago, the shoreline was here, and they're all on this cliff, and they're underwater. People didn't go down chipping underwater just to chip them there. It's how they recorded history of what happened on the island. And by the way, they drew bows, they drew shields, they drew troop armaments, they drew horses. There's no horses there. They drew horses with Scythian knots in their tails, all this other shit. And I'll show you the last one. You might like this one. I'll cap it off with this. So I'm showing them just all of this history. I'm just trying to find a fairly decent representative picture. And I said one of the excursions that came here way back in time was they were Scythian, which was an ancient people. They were Scythian in origin. And in the Scythian people is really what taught these people stuff. I'm going to gather a couple more pictures. Hang on. And so the Scythian people is what brought the later knowledge of all these people to what you now know as Nova Scotia. Of course, they didn't want to hear that. I even tracked down their ancient DNA genes. Science still didn't want to take it. So let me show you these, and you can make up your own mind. And I promise I'll close with this. I just haven't talked about this a long time, so I might as well do it. Ancient Scythian had women warriors. Now I have all of this. These are the ancient Scythians right here. Now the Scythians were really known for their particular type of dress, was kind of like a robe, not both men and women, well, they wore them with leggings, but you see their interesting hat. And they had interesting kind of bow carriers because they were an archer people. All of these are depicted in the culture there in petroglyphs. So let me show you the Micmac people. Now I'm telling them this is all Scythian. Here it is. Here's their garb. Here's why they do it. Here's the shields. Here's the bow carriers. right? No, can't be. And it's their National Guard. That is a great analogy of why I was equipped to fight this bullshit, right? For what I do. And I'm showing them all of this stuff. And I'm showing them that you have history here that you cannot deny, and it doesn't change the nature of your country at all. It doesn't change the nature of your country. But damn it, you've got to try to understand this. And you've got to try to understand, if you really want to know your history, it doesn't change anything, right? You just kind of have to embrace it. And it's in that embrace you will actually truly understand your nature and what this is and what this means to everybody and how it all works and your place in the world. All that happened from my work, though, all of my work that I did on this, the only thing that happened in the Canadian government when I broke this out is they outlawed taking pictures of all of the petroglyphs and everything. Yep, they outlawed taking pictures, even though the natives tell the story of the great white man that brought them all of their teaching, and his name was Glooskap. The natives talk about it. Government ain't going to let any of this out. They're just not going to do it, right? And it created such a stir in the archaeological world. And it was all about the system not being willing to tell the true story of where these people come from and what these people do. And so I want to kind of show you one thing, if I can. Look at the guy on the left. And I have far better representations in my archive, but I'll just use this. One thing that was really neat is you see the guy on the left, you see the strap coming across his shoulders, and it's Glooskap, Gloos cap. But you see that little thing on his hip? It's actually how they carried their bows. And the bows they carried without the string, and then they would loop the string onto the bow and shoot the arrows. They won't even acknowledge where the natives show in their depictions. I even found this exact carrier. You can see there's on hips, right? And they have hundreds of these. That's the arrow carrier, right? And they're depicting the best they can the natives trying to explain who came there. And they're not willing to discuss it because it changes their entire system of what they have to talk about and what their true history is. This is part of my training of why when you fight this stuff and you do it, there's always political machinations. There's always government involved. Canada's terrified because they manage all the indigenous money. So I'm used to this shit. But there's part of me, right? There's part of me that would love to go back and do exploration and get back into the field again. My heart yearns for it, but this is just my scientific mind and stuff, right? But yes, they outlawed taking pics. Here's how far they went. I showed them this one massive rock is an entire story of ancient mariners and sailors. And it doesn't come from here. They outlawed photographs, they outlawed videotapes, and they built a building around it so people couldn't get to it. And yes, the Mayans talk about ancient cultures, the men with the white men with beards and blue eyes that came to teach them. Yes, the Mayans, all of them have the same history that they tell of the great ones that came and taught them civilizations. Ding, 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 ding. To a people who can't grow beards. And since you asked the right question, hang on. And one of the ones, I even went to the extent when they said ancient mariners weren't here, et cetera, I tracked down the oldest marker in the world for the Minoan civilization and has a DNA marker. And I tracked it all the way back to people who, because you asked about DNA, who live in the Tennessees, who are in this ancient trade stuff. That's where the Egyptian temple was found. And by the way, that's the one I told you about where they put it all underwater to hide it. Welcome to the fun world of exploration. I appreciate every one of you. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for your support. Hopefully it was just a little bit of a diversion. It was nice for me to see my dad. Right? But this stuff still goes on today in politics. It's always been around. It's kind of always where it'll be. I try not to take it personally. I understand that everybody is only trying to find truth. We're all just trying to find truth in all this mess. And it's hard. And there are always interests that do not want the truth to come out. And you want to be hated, become a truth teller. You want to become loved, spout the system's bullshit, and they'll put you in all kinds of interviews as long as you're telling the story they want told. And so it's okay. I'm used to being hated. But I just don't think that we have to hide history anymore. And I think there's a wonderful world out there, and we could learn much if we just get our heads out of our ass. And by the way, thank you for joining me for coffee and asking me anything. I hope I didn't take you on too long of a wandering trip. I love you all. Thank you for your support. Share this program.
This crazy world is telling you your sons can be daughters and your daughters can be your sons. When will the madness stop? Never. So you have to decide, will you comply or defy? They tell us all, you will own nothing, eat bugs, and be happy. Is this why America's largest food processing plants and food supply plants keep burning down? Do you really think this is a coincidence? Of course not. The system is telling us right to our faces what they have planned for us. You have a choice. Comply or simply defy their plan for us all. Defy the system's plan and execute your own plan. Abundant, safe, secure natural food supply. Introducing the Food Forest Bible. This bestseller by Jovan Hutton Pulitzer is the single most complete, executable, easy-to-follow plan for sustainable, self-managing food production for self-sufficiency and food security. For the first time ever, a coffee table heirloom quality full color book which unlocks the ancient secrets of creating a food forest. Imagine planting in a way which requires no digging, no pesticides, and creates massive ancient food abundance. No fooling. Food forests are the ancient secret to planning and planting once. And have your own Garden of Eden, which will feed your families for decade after decade. Buck the system. Buck the New World Order and order your very own copy of Jovan Hutton Pulitzer's Food Forest Bible. Learn how to create a sustainable, self-managing, natural food production for self-sufficiency and food security for your family. Side yard, small yard, backyard, backlot, or even lots of acres, the Food Force Bible works for everyone. Order on Amazon, hardcover, softcover, or ebook. Don't comply. Expertly defy the system.